Get off the main roads. Get off the main thoughts. Physical reality is the same as mental reality. As above, so below. Which is, as above, so below, is a hermetic axiom of the alchemists. And alchemy is really cool. Up to a certain point, but then you just have to, then you have to live by yourself and go crazy taking too much mercury to the nose on accident, I think, but I don't know. I'm nervous just talking to myself, but trying to think and meditate and talk all at the same time, trying to get used to the feeling of having a recorder on. And it's trippy because I am talking to myself, but there's a possibility of someone hearing it, but that's just imaginary. There's no one here listening to me talking right now, which is like what a crazy person would do. So you have that, what's it called, conditioning. You have the conditioning in your brain that you shouldn't talk to yourself, when who knows if you should or should not talk to yourself. If you get really good at it, you have a friend, or not a friend, but you can just listen to yourself, and you kind of say things spontaneously, and you never know what could come up. You get past the first part where you're basically like that self-defense automatic missile shooting down other missiles. What is that called? I don't know, something where it shoots out a bunch of missile-seeking missiles and none of the missiles ever get off the ground. That's like what it is when you're trying to start off talking. It's like thought. I've read before that artists, everyone has to get through this. Even, artists that you think are always in the mindset of whatever their famous paintings are. Picasso, he's a normal person, but he can get into mythical states, and they call it a frenzy for the artists, or at least the book that I was reading called it a frenzy. And that's fun. I should have done it before this, but you basically, I don't know what you do. You could run around, you could yell, you could punch walls, throw paint. I don't know, but you do get into a certain state where you flow. It is the flow state, kind of, but it's more of an insane flow state. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's the same flow state, but the person is just crazy. I don't know, it sounds cool to me. I've been researching a lot of artists, and I know for a fact that I could never. That just takes too. Art is a very like small returns on like a big investment, but I think that art is in art, like painting and drawing, because it could take at least a day to get a good painting out, and people are like, you're gonna charge $7,000, and well, that took at least a day just to paint, and then the setup and buying the supplies. Definitely thinking about the actual topic, or whatever you're gonna paint. It could take years. I don't know why people freak out so much about expensive art. You just don't get it until you try really hard to paint something or draw something, and not because you realize how hard it is, but because you realize how crazy it is what's happening when you're looking at something and painting it, and something else starts to happen where you are painting this bush you're looking at, and you're thinking about painting this bush you're looking at, and these colors are coming out of, every small change in color changes the whole picture painting, or every drawing every line in the drawing. What I've experienced is just, if you do one line, you're like, fuck, it's because you overthink it, and then you're like, oh, that line was overthought. I don't know, that ruins a painting for me, but you can also go deeper than that. I think a lot of artists do, and because it's literally just practice and time. You have a line that's, you're like, that line is overthought, and then maybe, I don't know, I've never practiced this much, but maybe you could incorporate that humanness for overthinking, the human quality for overthinking. You can just continue and incorporate that into the rest of the drawing. Like when a jazz musician has a bad note, and not just bad, because some bad notes sound good, but I mean like a note that's overthought and it sounds bad, and that, like, you can hear the shame in the note as it ends. But I know for sure that there are jazz musicians that can catch that, because I've heard it, and I don't think they've ever talked about it, so, but I've heard it, and they catch it with like a similar note, and they don't know if that's gonna work, but you can hear if it works or not immediately. And then that's why music is truth, because it's not like it's not like politician in a debate talking, and you're like, I don't know if he's lying or telling the truth. His tone and his voice sounds like he's telling the truth. But in music, it's like instantaneous, real time, either truth or not. And it's not like it's a lie. Well, it could be a lie. I don't know. It's not like it's not the truth. It's just that they missed, and they're gonna keep going for it. I don't know. I think everyone should just sit around and blow on trumpets instead of trying to get rich. Or sing. Can you imagine the first singers? I mean, like, we don't even know. I don't know what came first, singing or talking, or maybe it was a mix of both. Like, because talking is kind of singing. I mean, even if I'm talking right now, I go through notes. They're just horrible notes. It's just maybe 3 notes, but still, you could plot it on a scale, or on a scale, whatever those lines are. That's what I'm saying. What if a long time ago, I don't know, animals sing too. I was gonna say that people differentiated themselves by singing, but animals sing too, more than humans. Look at birds. Sorry, I couldn't figure out this stop sign. Oh, I was gonna say something. I have a better thing to say. Like, what if it's all... I mean, since it is all song, the songs that we sing are just horrifying. Like, the tone of corporate America or industrial society. Ooh. Who put that tone there, and can you please remove it so we can get back to just natural rhythms? It's such an unnatural rhythm. I forgot. Someone was just talking about... Oh yeah, all they were saying, I don't know who it was, but all they were saying is to be on a schedule, like a 9 to 5 schedule, as opposed to working a more natural schedule for farming or whatever your job was. It was a natural schedule. It wasn't like you had a clock that you were looking at. And then the Industrial Revolution, since the machines could just run forever, people had to get on their level, but obviously they can't, and so we've kind of been working since then to make everything automated so people don't have to work. Maybe. That's what I hope. But I don't know if I think that in the process of trying to get there, people really got fucked up to the point of possibly no return. Because I don't know, I think it's the vibrations, actually. Like the bad vibes are the bad vibes of either poorly designed or breaking machines, or just machines in general, where you're not supposed to hear hammers going off. I'm talking like mega pneumatic hammers going off for 8 hours a day for 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year. Tell me that's not gonna drive a person fucking crazy. No, I don't mean like, oh man, this is terrible. I mean like Satan. I mean like suicide, mass shootings, everything. And maybe they were driven crazy and then somehow kept it bottled up and thought that was good, and they have a son, and when it's vibrations like that, you just can't stop it. If you think they're being bottled up, they're just being pushed to the next thing, like your son. But I mean, it's like your car suspension. If there's something shaking wrong and you just replace that, it's either already been passed to the next component, or it's already been passed to the next component, and then it'll just get passed further and further. So really, the damage has already been done, and I didn't mean to get to this point so quickly, but that is kind of the point where you need a flood. Like a biblical flood, you need. You don't need, but you kind of do, and nobody wants to say it. I mean, this is dark, but I just recently watched Apocalypse Now, and that is his idea, the crazy dude in the ruins. And it's like, oh, he just went crazy in the ruins, but where did he come from? Industrial America. And yeah, it's the same idea actually in the Avengers, the new one with Thanos. Like, that's his goal. I'm gonna wipe out half the people. And we're like, no. And he's like, oh, it's gonna bring balance to the universe. And the Avengers are like, no. And you're like, they're superheroes, but they don't have super minds. I mean, Thor is the only one who's a god. But even he doesn't understand, and he kind of should have. But I think that would have maybe been dangerous. And maybe it was the agenda of the writers to kind of squash this idea out. Because, I don't know, it's not an idea that people should pick up. Like, I don't know if mass shooters are thinking that this pops up and we can be the flood. That's not even the idea. That's someone interpreting it wrong, because it has to just be like an actual flood, kind of. There's another, The Inferno by Dan Brown, the guy who wrote the Da Vinci Code and something else. What is the second one? Angels and Demons. But the third one, Inferno, he also wrote some kind of code, the fourth one, but it wasn't amazing. Or maybe it was, maybe I should read it again. But in Inferno, it's this same idea that the major bad guy, what do you call that in technical terms? The major antagonist, his idea is, this one is like super weird, because I never heard anything about this after, and it's kind of like really possible. And this one's scary because the people who would do it would not be like stupid mass shooters. I should not call mass shooters stupid. They're very nice. Like scientists and rich people, because his idea is to release a chemical that just terminates every third pregnancy or something like that. It doesn't even, it's not a flood in the sense of killing anyone that's alive. It's just making it so that the population goes on a negative slope, starting when he releases the thing, because right now it's just increasing too much. And it's kind of scary. I don't remember if he succeeds or not, but okay, so that's the pessimistic side. That's the pessimistic option, is overpopulation. And I'm not exactly sure where that idea comes from, because fuck if I know if we're overpopulated or not. It's just everyone saying there's not enough resources. But that's like saying, I mean, it's hard to tell from my perspective if there's enough resources or not. I don't feel great, but I think that they could just be preying on the human condition of knowing that you're going to die. I think I don't feel great because I know that I'm going to die, and it would be better if we just all help each other deal with that instead of charging or siphoning money from people who are really afraid of that, because that's exactly what's happening. But the point is, I'm not sure whether or not there is overpopulation from my perspective, and that's all you have is your perspective. It's the same thing as saying that we went to the moon or the earth is round, and I don't believe in those things. I'm just saying, from my perspective, the earth is flat, and from my perspective, well, the moon thing is different, but I've never been to the moon, so I don't know if it's possible. And the information, this is the problem, the information that I have is 65th hand. It's not even first hand. Like, I've never met Neil Armstrong. And a sphere, there really is no sphere. You can't see more than one half of a sphere, which is a circle in your perspective with shading. So, mystery solved. It's just optical perspective, which is where people need to revisit Isaac Newton, because he wrote a book called Optics, and then science just took off with everything and charged people money for shit. But there's a lot in the 1800s that we need to look back into. There was something I was trying to say, though. About maybe there being an optimistic side where we don't all have to die. Perspective. I really don't have it right now. While I'm trying to think of it, I might as well say that there's this process I might have come across where trying to remember things that you forgot what you were talking about or thinking about is possible. Damn, I think I forgot that too. There's something about going into the middle of the thought instead of trying to backtrack through your thoughts. It was like thinking about the feeling of the thought or something, and it worked twice in a row, so I thought maybe it's not BS. I can't do it right now, though, so non-pessimistic side of everyone dying is just, maybe there are enough resources. I was gonna say, my example for that was just bees. Like, I hate bees, and people say, if you kill the bees, the entire structure of nature will fail. And I didn't think twice about that for a while, but now I'm like, how do you know? Like, that's the thing where people, I'm not against science, but when you make sweeping generalizations, Actually, there's probably a bunch of fucking data for this, but I'm just saying a band of scientists has one idea, and then people... It has to be believed, but if I'm one person thinking about it, that bees not being here would ruin the earth, no. What would happen is the earth would drastically change, but do we need them for sure? No, something else would take their place. A bunch of animals go extinct all the time. Like, maybe we need to take some of the weight off the bee's shoulder if they're carrying that much of the load. What was that big blank spotted thought after a good joke? Hubris. Pride. Good speakers don't have that. It's better than a bad joke, though, because then shame is 10 times worse. And there would have been 10 times longer of a gap. I just don't want to be... I guess basic is the word. Mundane is a cooler word. Even though mundane just stems from the word mundo or munda, whatever Latin for earth is. So it's like earthly. I don't want to be earthly. And that is about as much pride as you can have, but my remedy for this, and I wrote it down recently so I wouldn't forget it, is just to think that it's not just that I want to be above people. I just don't think that we all have to be so mundane. I think that we all should be more like the stars or something, because we're obviously not just animals. So I don't know, I'm just saying everybody should rise. I'm not saying I'm above them. So my point is, I don't want to be basic or mundane. I don't want that huge barrier of mundane thoughts to have to get through all the time until I'm at a place where words flow and I'm not nervous that I'm gonna say some stupid shit. And I don't mean stupid shit like smart shit. Like stuff that people say at work is smart, but I would call it stupid shit because it's some weird, God knows what, I don't know. But I'm talking about, this is gonna be horrible. I'm talking about poetry spontaneously just flowing out of your head, because when I get out of the barrier, it's like the words just come linked, and they're beautiful, because that's the difference. What people say at work is just the same thing all the time, but what I'm talking about is anything just linked together better, because in music and in art and in psychology they figured this out. What's important is the change in notes, musical notes, or the change in anything. Like, they did an experiment where they had these chickens and they showed him or her a light gray card and then a gray card, like a darker gray card, and when he pecked the darker gray one, they'd give him a treat, him or her. And so they kept giving him a light gray for like 3 days. They gave him a light gray card, dark gray card. He learned that he needed to peck the dark gray one, and he got it down. He did it every time. And when they knew he had it down, they brought in 2 darker shades than the day before, like but still one lighter and one darker. You know what I mean? Like, if there are 3 shades, they brought the top 2 darker ones in, with the darkest one of which he's never seen before. And he picked the dark gray one. Just kind of not proving, but like, even if it is proving, but the people who are skeptical, it's like, oh, it's not proving, but it is. It's the truth. And like, when you hear that, you should know that it's the truth. Like the chicken, it's basically proving that the difference in things is what creatures see. So the words that are coming out of our mouths, it doesn't matter what they are, and what you think is smart is actually stupid, and what you think is poetry is actually brilliance and beauty and truth. It should be happening all the time, because it's like way more interesting to try to do that than to try to do paperwork. I don't know. And it's free. All you have to do is sit down. It's happened a couple times with me just sitting here by myself. I just had to go through a bunch of shit. Oh, there's way more to that. I just can't wrangle my brain back in right now. I almost lost it after the chicken. Oh, what did I say? Okay, the words. And I'm not even feeling it right now, so... 1 second. The words needed to be linked. When you're in flow state, the words just kind of... It's not vomit, but it is vomit, but it doesn't feel like vomit. It feels good. Yeah, it actually doesn't feel like anything. It feels like you're just hearing yourself instead of thinking about yourself. The words are just coming out, and you're hearing them, and it's beautiful, and you don't have to do anything. And I'm pretty sure that is heaven, that is the kingdom of heaven that we're supposed to bring here. That's utopia. That's where you just have to, you don't do anything. You just watch it happen. It's like a movie. And it would be good too, because you wouldn't resist, and then things would take the course they were designed to take. But anyways, that's the lyrical part of it. The words, lyrical. And then the melody of it is the same principle. It's the difference in the notes that matters, not the notes. That's hard to I still don't fully understand it. I'm not saying that you should know, but I thought about it for years probably, and it is really weird that my example is like, say you have a scene, like a setting. Say you have a bright white moon above a jungle where there's like colors of that bright white, like a midnight blue, some stars, and then on the ground you have like vibrant green, almost like luminous green because it's so alive, but it's nighttime. And then within that, a couple shades of like violet and maybe orange. I don't know. So you have that scene, and then that's all you have. That's one thing. It's like a picture. It can be moving too, even like little animals moving. And then kind of like a movie where it changes from that scene to the next scene, and it's like a city in the daytime, like bright sun, matte gray, modern buildings with like a couple black, like obsidian black windows and a little bit of brown because it's the city. But like those are scenes that I'm describing, but they're actually, and they are pictures, but I just said it in words, and what I did was just use colors to describe them. And the point I was trying to make is that the first scene could be like a G note, and that's nothing. It's pretty by itself, but it's nothing until, or it is something, but there's only one thing. Like if you heard a G note one day, and like a big long G note, even like a 20-second loud G note, and then you went to sleep, and the next day you woke up and they played just a big loud A note, it'd be the same exact thing. It wouldn't be if you're some kind of psycho sonic memory genius, but basically it's the same thing because you forgot what the G sounded like. And the point is, it's the one scene is nothing until you put the next scene next to it, and it kind of makes a thing. Because there's a relation, and there's a difference between the scenes, difference between the notes, difference between the words, and that's really cool. That's all I know, though. There's just way more. Like, that doesn't mean anything. It's just cool. I think there's a lot more to it that actually means something. It's basically just a theory about art right now. Also, theories about art are fun as fuck because it's like, what's the word? It starts with the I. Infinite. Yeah, the theories about art are infinite because it's just art is subjectivity, and then you just have your subjective opinion of it, and it's great, and you don't have to disagree and just end up being the seeds of war once again. You can just have your opinions about art, and other people have their opinions. Art, myth, movies, books, paintings, music, poems. It all follows the same thing, and it all is somewhat related to real life, but it's kind of so much better, and maybe because you're not feeling the actual risk of being in like a war when there's just like a movie about war and it's fun. But in another sense, art is more real because it's the land of myth. Like, even religion is there. It's just these stories that we don't know. We don't know if they were made up by us or somehow we just kind of came upon them, their form. Johnny Depp says we tell ourselves stories to continue living. That's such a cool statement. Number one, because it's Johnny Depp, and you like, he wouldn't say something like that basic, but it's something where the more you think about it, it gets heavier and heavier. Like, one side of it would be like a really sad person who literally has to tell themselves stories or kind of fabricate something to continue to live. And it's fine, actually. It really could work, and it does work, and it did work for a lot of famous people, like actors or musicians. They kind of fabricated a reality instead of committing suicide, and that right there is where you step into the land of myth, and that's why they are musicians. I almost said professional musician, but that just takes everything away from it, and I'm sorry to them for almost saying that, because they stepped into the land of myth and became actors and musicians because that's where they are. Like, he's like, oh, he's a good actor, but it's like he's there in the world of myth. And art is describing that place, even realistic art. Nietzsche says that art is the highest aim of human endeavor's existence. Art is the thing. And it makes sense because that it solves a lot of problems in itself if that is the goal, because it's not, if you don't deviate from it, it is the solution. Like, you practice getting good at art, and it is fulfilling. I don't know why people, there is something there. Someone put something there to deter people from art, because everyone takes one art class and they get this little feeling like, oh my god, I can draw. And like, because they're not thinking about it, like all their awareness is focused on the drawing or whatever it is, and for just a second they were gone. Like, they went into the painting, they went into the picture. Even if it's for a second, then they get done with the picture like, oh, it's so good, because they see that part they were drawing when they were in the picture, and then they keep looking at it and like, oh, that part's shitty. Actually, they're like, it's not that good. It's not that good. God, I fucking suck at art. And then they get mad, and then they go and back to the bullet factory or something. I don't know. When there shouldn't be there shouldn't be that there's like a physical structure. It's not a structure, I can't think of the word right now. So there's a little inner structure giving them a signal to not do art, and I don't know what that is. Someone put that there. Maybe it was the artist. I hope it's not the artist, but I mean, there does need to be a land of myth and a land of not myth. And on that I will end.